I'm making this video kind of knowing that I may not be received very well. I just want to get the core message across. And I don't want you guys to lose me, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. Let me start with the first time that I was ever introduced to feminism. And it basically, the first time I ever heard the definition, it was something along the lines of equality for all. Like, that was the whole point of it. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, of course. I'm with it. Then, throughout the course, I started uncovering and demasking all of these things that were just so not right. And I started thinking, this is not what it says it is. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's toxic everything. You can have too much water and it's fucking toxic. Do I believe that most men are toxic? No. Do I believe that it's a really prevalent problem right now? No. But I also think it's important that if we're going to continue talking about men in this way, that we should also determine what is toxic femininity. Because it's like, there's healthy masculinity, healthy femininity, toxic masculinity. And to disagree with that is just literally stupid. There's always ways in which things can be used in a wrong way. In my opinion, I'm seeing more toxic femininity than I am seeing toxic masculinity. And that's really unfortunate, because there could be so much progress to be made if it would just stop. In women's plight to be viewed as equals, they have to feel like they have to put men down, which is I'm getting honestly sick and tired of it. And it's not just common people, it's also institutions and schools, which I think is literally ridiculous to believe that in order for girls to become something more, men have to suffer. It is really, in my opinion, outdated and corrupt. You know, I would get offended in class because I remember them always talking about white men, especially, and how offensive that is. To everyone who has a white father or a white brother, to categorize them in such a way is terrible. And not only is it sexist, but it's also racist. I've literally heard, like, let's say someone is a guy is being difficult. I've heard people say, well, it's because he's a guy. It's because he's a man. Mansplaining. Oh my god, mansplaining. Honestly, shut up. If someone said womansplaining, do you understand the outrage? To not understand the parallel in that, literally, I don't even know how to explain it to people, how there is such a parallel. And I don't understand how people don't see that. It's really weird to me. Any type of thing that you would not want to be directed towards you, you should not say to other people. And you might be like, oh, well, we don't have the power as women, so we're not technically being a sexist. Fuck that, honestly. Pardon my language, I don't normally cuss on my channel, but honestly, fuck that. You cannot say that. Like, if I would not want someone being like, because she's a girl, then I can't say that to a guy. And you have to look down deep into, why do you believe what you believe? If you truly believe that you should not base someone on something they have no control over and doesn't actually necessarily mean anything about them, then you have to hold yourself to that same standard. I don't believe that feminism is even for all women either. You have to be a certain kind of girl for them to accept you, which I find stupid. For example, at the Women's March, they only let pro-choice women march. They don't let pro-life. Which to me makes no sense, because even let's say that you disagree with someone, that you don't believe that that the fetus is a baby. Let's say that you don't believe that. Is it really such a horrible thing to be able to see, to comprehend how another woman views it as a baby? Something that people get excited for all the time is being pregnant and having a baby. Is it really so hard for people to understand how someone else might disagree with them and think it's a baby and would want to protect it? Is it really so weird for other women to want to protect babies? Even if that's not your stance and you disagree, why is it so difficult to understand someone else's point of view on that? I don't understand why you would think of them less as of a woman because of that. I just don't understand. And that's just one thing. You have to be a certain kind of female for them to include you, which I think is utter stupidity. Utter dumbness. On top of that, I think that the Women's March is very ungrateful and sees the world in a terrible way. Sees history through a lens of just the fact that men are patriarchal and oppressive towards us, which is literally stupid. I just honestly think it comes from a very narrow view of history. And I understand history is not everyone's cup of tea, but if you look at the circumstances back then, it is completely reasonable the way the family structure was set up, with women being at the the maid of the household and the man going to work. There's just so many reasons why that was the case. It had nothing to do with oppression, it had nothing to do with dominance. Now, of course, there probably were men who were terrible to their wives and had these unrealistic expectations, but the fact that the wife was the homemaker and they had so many kids, like, I could literally make a whole video on the fact of why that was completely reasonable and necessary at the time, and how women should actually be grateful that the men were doing that. People, you can't look at history the way you see it now. There was no women hygiene products the way they are now. There was not daycare the way there is now. There was not like pumps and stuff for breast milk the way there is now. There were so many things that were not the case back then, and women by default had to stay home. Men didn't decide, okay, women are the ones that are going to be pregnant, they're going to be the ones that have periods, and they're going to be the ones that have to breastfeed their children. They did not make that rule, okay? That's just the way it is, and you can't be mad at someone for that. And of course, as things evolved, situations evolved, and that's where we are now, because we do have the technology, we do have the resources to be the way we are now, and that's amazing. It's not men's fault. Not everything's dude's fault. What do you mean? And a lot of that has to do with the way that social sciences have a tendency to basically perpetuate this idea that statistics show that women are oppressed and don't get paid as much, which is literally stupid. Like, I took those classes on statistics and all of those things, and you can't look at surface level for that shit. You cannot oversimplify such a complicated matter when you look at social issues. There's so many reasons why things happen. And correlation does not mean causation. So even if you find a discrepancy, that does not mean that there is sexism that is occurring. And again, you can go somewhere and Google all the various reasons why women may get paid less, and you'll find, again, they're completely reasonable. And in some ways, you could turn it. You could say that men are the ones that are not getting what they should be getting, because that's only if you're taking into account money, as if money is the only important thing. Many of the reasons why women don't make as much is because, again, they have to take maternity leave. They don't want to travel because they don't want to have to leave their family. They don't want to put in the amount of hours that's necessary for some of these jobs because they want to be with their family, which is a really valid and amazing thing. And I would actually feel sorry for men that they can't be around their family as much as girls. So it's all about the way you look at things. One of my least favorite things that I've ever heard was when girls complain about that the amount of hours they put into house labor, they don't get a monetary gain from. I just honestly think people are losing, like, this, they're losing the vision of, like, what's important in life. Family is so much more important than money. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a girl and I think that girls should be homemakers. I'm saying that for fucking everyone. Men, women, everyone included. Family is more important than anything. And to say that raising a family is less than making an income, a monetary income, that just really shows you where your values are. And that's even for, like, men included who are stay-at-home fathers. You shouldn't complain about that. Like, what the hell? Like, that's actually, like, a legitimate thing. Like, there's, like, actually even, like, a definition word for that. Like, where your household, the chores and stuff you do at home you don't get money for. I'm like, really? There's more. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it quicker because last time I went into depth on all of these topics and just got really, like, meaty. Oh yeah, and a big thing I almost forgot to touch on is that basically how we address sexual assault accusations. There is a way to respect both the girl who comes forth and also due process. There is a way. Basically, if a girl comes up to me and tells me, oh my gosh, Kara, something terrible happened to me, I will be like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'll help you in any way I can. What I won't do is go to that guy's social media and say, you are a pig, scum of the earth, piece of dirt. I'm not going to do that, because although I'm going to be respectful to her and her experience, and I'm not going to be a douchebag, at the same time, the guy is not, in my opinion, held accountable until he goes to court. And that's not a bad fucking thing. Trust me, you want due process. As a person who could ever be convicted of something, you want due process. And it's not to say that the girl is stupid or a liar. It's just saying that maybe who knows, she could have gotten mixed up with the guy wrong. She could potentially be a vindictive girl. You don't know. That's the whole point. You can't just accuse someone of something and everyone like attack them. Like that's just not the way things in a fair society works, and that in my opinion is taking it too far. It is taking it too far. I also took a class where we talked about the Western patriarchy and how they thought it was a terrible thing for us to push our ideals in other cultures because we're dominating them in some manner. Here's the thing that freaking annoys me. So here, people can be really riled up about rights, but they don't think that it's important for other people in the world to have those same rights that they are so belligerent that we must obey. If I believe it's immoral to kill someone, then I also believe it's immoral to kill someone in another country. If I believe a gay person shouldn't go to jail for being gay, then I also don't believe that a gay person should be killed in another country. And that's not me dominating another person, you know, and that's not, and the whole point, by the way, of the United States is that we are founded on the fact that we don't tell people what they can and cannot practice, what religion they have, what culture they have, what means of ways of living they have. We don't do that. The only thing we say is that you can do whatever you want unless you infringe upon other people's rights and you hurt other people, etc. So to say that we shouldn't hold that same standard, like we shouldn't want that for other people, is literally terrible. Why do you think people come to America? So in short, I think toxic femininity is sexist. I think toxic femininity does not understand the value of family. I think toxic femininity excludes women who don't fit a certain narrative. I think toxic femininity are offended way too easily and go to extreme measures to show it, like pussy hats. I think toxic femininity has a very narrow view and very corrupt view of history and even current. I think that toxic femininity also doesn't take into account other women around the world. Of course, target the guys that are assholes or terrible people or predators, sure, but don't even try to make it seem like the common guy is so terrible. This has just gotta stop. And you know, if you guys want a more in-depth video on all of the actual like stats and facts that counter all the things that you're hearing that are coming through very, very narrow viewpoint, then I will do that happily, because this is just I'm getting like literally so fed up about all this. And also pussy hats. Now I think we can all agree that's toxic femininity. Pussy hats? Are you serious? You know what? I would love it if there was a men's march where you guys all wore penises on your head with like a scrotum hanging. I don't understand. Could you imagine me putting a hat like that on my head? I mean, I'm just saying.